Welcome to Pause Around the House. In this video, I'm going to show you how to quickly unblock your basin or sink, and if required, show you how to remove, clean and refit your pedestal straight through waste trap and get it all working as good as new. So you turn your tap on with the plug open and you find that water's either building up and draining away slowly or not at all. So what can you do? I use a sink plunger like this, and I'll put a link to this in the description section below. So now you need to remove your plug. To do this on mine, I rotate anti-clockwise. If you take a look under the plug, you can already see the mess and gunk that's building up. You can see here by adding some water to the sink and then using your plunger by pushing it up and down, it can force any block debris to move up and down and dislodge, allowing the water to drain away. But on filling your basin back up again, you may well find that the problem still persists. If you look by here, you've got the overflow. Now if we cover this with our thumb or finger, trapping the air and creating a vacuum, you can now use the plunger again and you should find that it'll be a lot more productive. So you may well find that that works perfectly for you and your sink is now unblocked. If you are finding it's still retaining the water, then we need to go to plan B. So now look under your sink or your basin and you'll find your waste trap. In this particular example, we've got a pedestal or straight through waste connecting into a flexible pipe, and although this may not look exactly like your setup, the general arrangement will be the same. Now I push down the two clips and remove the shelf. I use an old tea cloth and cover the bottom of the vanity unit, and this will just soak up any water we spill in a minute. You'll also want a small bowl or a jug to hand. Now we need to undo this nut turning anti-clockwise. Hold the waste trap with the other hand to avoid the whole thing twisting. Once the nut is loosened off, just place your jug underneath the pipe before it's fully disconnected, just to catch any excess water that might still be in the pipe, and pull the pipe gently away from the waste trap. Looking inside that pipe, you can see all the muck that's built up. This bit's not very pleasant. I'm just going to use my fingers and get stuck in, pulling it all out and placing the debris in the jug. You could use a knife or some other utensil for this, it's entirely up to you. Bearing in mind that's just the muck from the bottom pipe, you can see why that sink was blocked. The next job is to remove this top nut direct from the basin, and this is done exactly the same way, turning anti-clockwise. And when I removed that, it was extremely heavy, suggesting there's a lot of muck inside, and we got a bit of cleaning to do. So first of all, I place my dirty waste trap in a bowl and move it out of the way. Then I begin cleaning the pipe underneath the plug and the basin. Again, this is a messy job. I'm just starting off with my fingers, but you can use any utensil you want or you have to hand. And here we found a beautiful hair from my daughter's Barbie doll, so this is exactly what we're contending with. With a jug underneath the basin, I turn the tap on and try to flush the debris through the plug hole. You'll notice the water's not flowing readily, so time to get on top and a bit more cleaning. For cleaning the plug hole on top, you could use a small pipe cleaner like this, but unfortunately this one is for cleaning my kids' straws, and I don't think they'd take kindly to me using this, so today I'm going to settle with a scouring pad and my fingers. All I would say if you're using your fingers is just be careful, because you do get some sharp edges and you can cut your skin. If you're finding this video useful, could I ask that you like, share and subscribe, as it would really help me out. So now I'll run the tap again, holding the jug underneath, and you can see this time that the water's flowing a bit more readily through the plug hole. I use my sponge and give the underside a clean. I get my finger back in the top and clean the plug hole, then flush through again with water, repeating the process until I'm satisfied that that plug hole is clean. So now you should be able to see clearly straight through that plug hole. Now I go outside, I fill an old paint scuttle with water. Here's the pedestal waste trap, and just note that on the top of your trap, as it's a compression fitting, you will have a rubber washer like this. Just make sure you keep hold of this and don't lose it. Now loosen the main body of the waste trap by rotating anti-clockwise, and just remember while you dismantle the waste trap to keep all the bits in order so you know how to put it back together again in a minute. So you can clearly see here the downside to these space-saving waste traps, that where they reduce the flow of water and there's not much capacity to get the water through, they build up a lot of crud in a very short space of time. So first of all, I just use my sponge or scouring pad using my fingers, get inside and give it a good clean. Then I flush it through with the hose pipe. As there's still some muck left in the waste pipe, I get a knife. I use this to get my scouring pad down to the bottom, give it a good twist around, removing any excess muck. So on the next part of the waste trap, just take note of another rubber seal, be careful not to damage or remove it, and continue to clean it in exactly the same way until you're happy this is clean as well. And on closer inspection through the centre of this section of waste trap, you can see the build up of crud is absolutely disgraceful. So I use the knife, I scrape around and pull it out in one big horrible mess, and then I continue cleaning as before. Don't forget, if you're interested in any of the tools or the products used in this video, I'll put links to those in the description section below. If you haven't done so already, please like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to press that bell icon for regular notifications, as it would really help my channel out. Now it's time to put the waste trap back together in the reverse order to how we took it apart. Here, take note of the rubber seal, ensuring it's clean and intact. Line the threads up, turning clockwise to tighten it into place. You only need to do this up hand tight onto the rubber seal, no need to over tighten. Then take the rubber seal that we removed from the waste trap earlier, give it a really good clean, and fit it neatly back into the top of the waste trap. Before I refit the waste trap, I like to use a bit of plumber's mate on the thread underneath the sink. I'll put a link to this product along with all the other products used in this video in the description section below. I like to take a bit out of the tub and roll it between my fingers into the shape of a worm, a bit like using Play-Doh. Then press it firmly onto the underside of the thread. And whilst there's a rubber seal in your waste trap to prevent water leaking out of this joint, for me this is just belt and braces, and it certainly helps on some cheaper waste traps where the seal isn't always that good. So with your rubber seal back at the top of the waste trap and a bit of plumber's mate in there as well, I push firmly up to the metal thread, giving that plumber's mate a little squeeze. I move the plastic nut back and forth until I locate the thread, and then I tighten the nut up, turning clockwise. Do this up firmly, but no more than hand tight. If any surplus plumber's mate is squeezed out at the top, I like to work around the joint with my finger and push it all back in. In this compression joint there's a hard plastic washer which you can barely see inside my nut, and then the black rubber seal you can see there. Placing the rubber seal into the joint above with the thin end first, we then place the nut on top, locating it into the thread, and then tighten up, rotating clockwise. Again, you want this hand tight but firm. To help nip it up, it's worth holding onto the main body of the waste trap before tightening the nut. This prevents the whole thing from twisting. I remove the tea towel, cleaning up any excess mess, then use a damp cloth to give the area a nice clean. So now I run the tap and it's clear to see that the basin, the plug and the waste trap are all unblocked, and the water is flowing freely. However, it's now time to get underneath the basin and check for leaks. To do this, run your hands around the pipework, run it around the waste trap and check all the joints. By running your hands around the waste trap, you'll know if there's any trickles or weeps. It's worth leaving the water running for a few more minutes, then having another feel around to check that everything's okay. Once I'm satisfied I've got no leaks, I have one last clean of the basin. Then I take my plug, which you'll notice I've given a good clean. I place this back on by locating the thread and rotating clockwise. And that's it, job done. So if you're interested in any of the products seen in the video, I'll put links to those in the description section below. If you enjoyed the video, can you please give it a like? And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel and press that bell icon for regular notifications. I've been Pouse Around the House. Ta-ta, farewell.